You are now entering the horror sanctum.
Hello, and welcome back to the Horror Sanctum podcast. I'm Jay with John, Kellen, and TJ. And this week we have one question for you. What's in the box? What's in the box? But we're not alone on this quest for knowledge. To solve this mystery, we're joined today by our gal pal, Julia Blakemore, aka Jules. Jules, welcome to the Sanctum.
Thanks, guys, and happy halfway to Halloween.
Halfway to Halloween, indeed. This was your movie pick. As some of you have already guessed, we're talking about 1995 crime horror classic Seven, directed by David Fincher. If you're unfamiliar, first of all, shame. Everyone should have seen this movie at some point. But if you are unfamiliar, there will be spoilers. Of course, it's from 1995, so you'll be fine. When retiring police detective William Somerset tackles a final case with the aid of a newly transferred David Mills, they discover a number of elaborate and grisly murders. They soon realize they're dealing with a serial killer who's targeting people he thinks represent one of the seven deadly sins.
And a great concept for a serial killer thriller, right? So let's put this as the historian, I guess, of the crew. Let's put this in context for a little bit. So this was 1995. Morgan Freeman's coming just off of the Shawshank Redemption year, just months previous. It was, I believe, the Christmas season of '94. Got a lot of critical praise, but totally bombed at the box office. But that's where Morgan came to a lot of people's, memory and what really put him on the map for a lot of us. And Brad Pitt was just coming into his own. 95 was a big year for him. I believe, just months before he did Legends of the Fall, which is what was his kind of coming out to Hollywood, being the next hot superstar guy thing. And then in 95, he made a lot of very interesting choices. 12 Monkeys had a very cool role. I believe he did that just before he did this. This is really what really put him on the map for a lot of leading man type things. And same year, this is really the first year I recall people talking about a neo-noir. And this was the first time I'd ever heard of what noir was. Being about 11 or 12 when these movies come out. But this movie come out, I believe, just on the heels of The Usual Suspects, which oddly enough also stars Kevin Spacey as Kaiser Sose. Spoiler alert. And really the 1-2 punch of that film and this film is really what put him on my radar and so many people's radars. He had a breakout kind of indie film, Swimming with Sharks, I believe the year before, that he got some attention for. Another great film. He's great at playing assholes and psychotic, horrible people. Imagine that. And we thought he was acting all these years.
Wasn't he in Glengarry Glen Ross? Was that him too?
He was in
think.
Glengarry Glen Ross. Similar time frame, mid-90s. Yeah, everybody was in Glengarry Glen Ross, the film adaptation. You gotta have brass balls. Yeah, right. Anyway, so noir. Noir is this thing that's hard to define. Forget the neo part of it. Noir was basically the German expressionism come over to the States. And at the time it come over to the States in the early 30s, studios like Warner Brothers were making their bread and butter in the Great Depression off of gangster pictures. And when the expressionism of directors like Fritz Lang, who made a movie called M with Peter Lorre, 1931, when they started making American things, they took the same kind of concepts that were in these Americanized B movies, gangster pictures, and then they turned them into this darker thing. And it wasn't initially; it was just noir, just literally is French word for black. Um, so it's a French expressionism, German expressionism, all these directors fleeing because of World War II, the onset of World War II, the aftermath of World War One, that kind of period where wasn't so great to be over there, wanted to try and make the bread and butter in what was just becoming Hollywood. And initially it was just a visual style. It was the use of light and shadow. That was the noir type look. The look that we get in classic horror films like Nosferatu, Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. This was all what would become noir. But when it come to Hollywood, those type of B pulpy stories, the content got darker as we were entering into a Second World War and coming out of the Great Depression. So the plot lines got darker, right? And so that's why when they started talking about neo noir, which really Usual Suspects and Seven was when this come about. When they started talking about this, it wasn't even really the visual style as much. David Fincher uh, definitely did use a lot of the darkness and shadows in most of his films, and this one really a lot of the times you can't hardly see what's going on, which just makes it more visually interesting and creepy, like when they're going into these murder scenes and things, because you're kind of in there with the characters. But more, it was a sense of that kind of dark depravity, the type of telling of a story that wouldn't have necessarily played to, mainstream Hollywood. And for whatever reason, in the mid 90s, we started getting more of these darker stories. And none is more darker than this concept of Seven, uh, which I'm really surprised before 1995, no one had come up with this idea of someone killing based on the seven deadly sins because it's a great hook. It's a great way to sell a film. Um, and the way this film probably would have been made by some other director or just a few years prior would have been a totally different presentation, right? David Fincher, he's coming off the heels of directing Alien 3, which was, depending on who you talk to, it was not really a critical success, but it did have some box office success. It kind of rode the wave of that summer blockbuster, but it didn't play uh, nowhere near the way the first two films were. So, as a director, he was considered a flop at the time. So this is his bounce back. This is his comeback. I'm proving that I still have a right to be here. I still got stories to tell. I still have a visual style that's worth displaying to people, right? And using some great talented actors. I believe this is one of Gwyneth Paltrow's first films too. So a lot of great talent there. Kevin Spacey, right when he's hitting uh, and doing some great stuff with Usual Suspects. Morgan Freeman just got noticed with Shawshank. It was just perfect timing. It was lightning in a bottle, the right talent, the right time. But man, this movie is so dark and so depressing from the very beginning of just seeing these people like the guy that just ate himself to death until he ruptures from gunpoint. Apparently, what I think they said took at least 12 hours to do. Man, like how sadistic is the guy to do that? It was almost like Saw before Saw, but you just didn't see any of the kills, Psychologically, and this was a budgetary concern. Like if you had to show all of that, it would have been so much more expensive. Would have taken so many more elaborate setups. It would have been about that rather than the psychological element of it. So it worked because how that looks in your mind, you could never pay off perfectly, right? So much better what you don't see. Just knowing that someone's that depraved to do all these types of murders. And man, the ending. I mean, that's what everybody remembers. What's in the box? What's in the box? The setup. I've killed 5, you know. I'm going for 7. What's going to happen? I'm turning myself in. That's one of the biggest shocks story-wise, I think, of any thriller I've seen is about 2/3 of the way through the movie. They're just in the middle of trying to find the guy when the guy just shows up at the precinct, blood all over him, and turns himself in. I mean, I, I know I wasn't expecting that. I don't think anybody is expecting that. And from that moment on, you know that you're not in safe hands. Something is afoot, but you don't know what it is. And this guy's got the control. You don't know how exactly. He's in his chains and his jumpsuit, and he's playing 4D chess, and you don't know how it's gonna happen. And then all of a sudden, that scene with the box and the head, and man, and then, oh, the real clincher is when he says she was pregnant and he didn't know she was pregnant. Oh my God, this heart wrenching way to just perfectly make Kevin Spacey worst serial killer ever. And then
That was the knife in the heart, the head in the box, and then she was pregnant. That's when he just ripped it upward.
Yep. Yeah. And I hadn't seen this movie in probably at least 10 years because it's one of those that sticks with you and it just, you know it's great and it just has that. But it's not a feel-good film. Like it's a great film, but it's not one that I rewatch because it just is awesome and it makes me feel great about life, But that's the intention. And it takes you on that ride masterfully. And then you put yourself, I always put myself in Brad's shoes. It's like, he's trying to get you to do this, but how do you not do it? And would I do it? I don't know. It's the question I always am left with. And I think that's part of what's so unsettling about it is like, do you let him win? But how do you trust the system to just let him possibly get away with it too? It's like what is the right thing to do there? Who knows? And I love a film that can take you to that point and leave the audience with a question they can't answer. But Jules, tell us why you chose this film to bring to the Sanctum today.
Man, I must be really desensitized to it because everyone's like, it's so dark, and it is, but it's definitely one I've rewatched a lot. And it's crazy that it's 30 years old because I guess I was like 8 when it came out, but it's one of those movies I don't even remember watching it for the first time. It was just, oh, if it's on cable, you're leaving it on that channel. I don't know. I guess I just remembered growing up watching it, and it's kind of the first time you can't look away, I guess. I guess that's what's kind of maybe fun about it is it's not a happy movie, but ugh, it's really repulsive and just icky the whole time. And I am surprised I like that. I'm a pretty like clean and happy person, but it definitely has interesting themes when you think about, you know, Morgan's the really jaded guy that's about to retire and just completely over it all and thinks it's not even worth it to keep going. And then Brad Pitt, it's really sad at the beginning of the movie. You find out he requested to be there. Like he actually wanted to work there in this really awful place, which we don't really find out what city it is, I guess. Um, it's just a gross, rainy, corrupt city, but I don't know. I guess one of my favorite parts about the movie is it just feels very yin and yang the whole time. You constantly have positivity, negativity. I think that's what I like about it. Also, just the really gross kills, especially as a kid, you just always remember the fat guy. It's just, oh, the spaghetti sauce.
He definitely is one of the standout kills, I think. And he's the first one too, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It it's interesting. When you picked that one, I think it was between this or Sinners, because all of us have seen Sinners except one of us. I'm not going to tell you which one. So we ended up going up with this one instead. But like you guys, I don't think I've watched it in forever. So going back, you kind of get those feelings again. and you remember how brutal it is, but you also forget some things, right? And then you're like, oh shit. But towards the end, you're like, I know what's in the box. Like I remember now what's in the box. So we're glad you picked it, because we needed a reason to go back and rewatch it, I think. So
It's kind of like, I think the first time too, you're rooting for someone to not shoot the killer. Like, normally, that's a happy moment, but in this one, you're like, "No, no, don't do it." And he does it, and you're like, "Crap."
yeah, and that was prime Pitt for me too back then, like 95 to early 2000s. Prime Pitt, like him with that look, that little goatee situation. When he was in a movie at that time frame looking like that, you know it's gonna be good, right?
Oh, for sure.
This I think this is definitely probably the most nihilistic movie I've ever seen. Uh there's a $5 word for you. I don't get to use often. But definitely probably the most brutal and dark film I can think of. I mean, this movie, I was thinking this earlier. I may have said this to you, Jay. I feel like this movie makes The Exorcist seem like a happier movie. Like this is so dark, and I think it's just because it's so real. It's so brutal, it's so real. You get to see this world. I mean, the budget for what they had, it's great, and the kills are just disturbing. Fincher, the cinematography for David Fincher films are like second to none. They're like
So,
incredible.
well, since you said that, one of my biggest notes was David Fincher is like the dark version of Wes Anderson. Like there's certain
Yes.
directors out there, Tim Burton's one too. Like there's certain directors like you can watch a movie not knowing anything about you, like that's David Fincher, or that's Wes Anderson, or that he's definitely one of those, and he's just like a dark version of Wes Anderson, I think.
Oh, dude, absolutely. I mean, it's like you instantly see his films, and he's got so many that are great. One recently from last year that I think doesn't get talked about is The Killer. It was on Netflix. That's a really awesome movie with
Is that Fassbender?
yeah,
I
it's
haven't seen
really
that one.
good. I don't know why it just didn't get a lot of attention. Of course, Panic Room, The Game is probably my favorite with Michael Douglas. I love that
Oh, that's
movie.
an underrated one for sure.
Yeah. I think I first saw this when I was 10. So I would have been 95. I rented it with my parents. I should tell you something. My parents let me watch this fucking movie. I don't like us millennials. It is what it is, right? But I remembered I had forgotten a lot about it, and there were things that I remember. Like I remembered the chase scene. I remembered when he's interrogating the poor guy that had to
Oh.
basically rape that girl. I remember that dialogue. I remember the ending. um Morgan Freeman in this movie is I feel like Morgan Freeman is like the exact kind of police officer you would want anywhere. Like he's aged, he's wise, he's like intelligent, he does research. He's kind of like in a way it's almost like a darker version of Danny Glover in Lethal Weapon. Like he's way too old for this shit and he just wants to leave and like get out of the city and he knows that this is rotten to the core. It kind of also reminds me of Tommy Lee Jones and No Country for Old Men, how Tommy Lee Jones is in that movie where he's seen so much and by the end of it he's just like I've had enough of this. Like I can't deal with this anymore. Um I thought it was cool that Richard Roundtree had a cameo. Uh
Shaft.
Shaft, thought that was pretty sweet. You can definitely see another thing with this movie. The Batman from 2022 directly was influenced by this movie. The look of it, the crimes, the Riddler. It definitely felt like the same world as Seven in a way. I thought, but the writing is also great in this movie. As disturbing as it is, like there's so many lines in this movie that are great. There's one where Morgan Freeman was talking about, all we're doing is picking up diamonds on a desert island, saving them just in case we get rescued. Like I thought that was pretty. I'd never heard that from like a police officer, and it's interesting when you think about cold cases and the work they put in, and it can be so infuriating, right? I mean, so many things, loose ends, what happens. Um, the chase scene is great. The big chase scene in the movie, I thought that was awesome. Very good. I think it's up there with any chase scene, even Point Break. It's up there with any action movie chase scene. The only thing in the movie that takes off just a little ding for me, and it's really nitpicking, is the sloth guy who's like the zombie. That was a little, it was cool to see, but I don't know if that's in any way realistic because that guy looked like he had been on The Walking Dead or something. I don't know. I'm not a medical person. I
It's
don't
a great
know.
jump scare, though.
It is. And maybe that's,
Yeah.
knowing David Fincher, maybe he did his homework. I could be wrong on that. Maybe that's possible. When I saw that guy, I was like, that dude looks like a fucking zombie.
Didn't they say he was giving him antibiotics as well? I mean, he was
Mhm.
feeding him just enough to keep him alive, but giving him antibiotics. I mean, as a nurse, I've seen a lot of really severe wounds that people live with. So, I mean, I think it's plausible.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It may be. It may just be so shocking that it could be. I thought the end was obviously brilliant with Kevin Spacey, and it's weird hearing that monologue from him in the car when he's talking about like the victims, and like one of them was like I think he called one of them a pedophile, and then and it's really weird knowing his history now. It's
Oh,
really
God.
odd with Kevin Spacey like watching this movie because it's like you separate the artist from the art, but it's still like, oh, it's kind of strange and icky for me. But it's so bleak, and I can safely say, like, I honestly probably never want to see this movie again. And that is not an insult to the movie. Like, this is a freaking terrific film. But it's just like it's so dark that I just like I don't know. Going through it again today, I was like, I don't know if I could watch this a third time. I could, but
Is it this or When Evil Lurks?
I could watch When Evil Lurks over this again. That's how I think. Just because this is so realistic, it just really digs into me. But yeah, overall, I mean, it's a classic. So I'm curious, Kellen, what do you think?
Yeah, the feel good movie of '95. And to your point, John, the difference between this and When Evil Lurks is there's downtimes in When Evil Lurks. There's no downtime in this. This movie is just in your face the whole time. It's like Saw on steroids. Like, I mean, some of the Saw movies get a little in the weeds, but I mean, they don't allow your stomach a chance to settle. It's just horrible imagery after horrible imagery after horrible imagery until the very end. So there's no break in this. Rotten Tomatoes 84% critic score, 95% audience score, which exactly the same as Silence of the Lambs. And I would argue that this movie is just as good as Silence of the Lambs for what it is. The acting's great, the cinematography's great, the soundtrack's great. This movie is as close to a perfect horror police procedural movie that you could make. Kevin Spacey's John Doe is every bit as creepy as Sir Anthony Hopkins' Hannibal Lecter. I mean, different versions of creepy, but just and taking the man away from the character, because like John said, that makes it even more creepy. But just his portrayal of this emotionless, except the one scene where Brad Pitt gets under his skin and he shows a little bit of emotion, but the rest of the time where he's completely emotionless, and all of the torturing and maiming that he's done to these people, it's like he literally feels like he is on a mission from a higher power, and that's his purpose in this world. So super creepy.
He's on a mission from God.
He has to be the most dedicated serial killer of all time. That one guy alone took a year.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he was not lazy as a
I would be
serial
so
killer.
impatient with that. I'm like, no, fuck it. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
have a
Be a
sloth
spree
murdering.
killer.
I want to know what he did for a living, because he had to have money somewhere to get the phallic symbol made, to buy all of those air fresheners in that room, to feed those people, to go to the store while killing gluttony. Like during the 12 hours, he goes to the store and buys some more. So
His
he had to do
murdering was a
something.
full-time job.
The
Apparently.
custom strap on had to not be cheap either.
Oh, and that was that. So I haven't seen this movie since 99, roughly. So about 25, 26 years since I saw this. And that again speaks to what John said. This is not a movie that you want to watch repeatedly just because it sticks with you. And I remember the first time that they showed the image of that, and then that guy's acting about having the gun in his throat, and he was forced him to screw the prostitute. and you see the image of that, and then you're having that in your head, especially as like a 16-year-old virgin. You're like, oh my god, I don't ever want to have sex. That's what's going to happen.
Oh, it's worse watching it as a girl.
I can't even
I
imagine.
mean,
I wouldn't even try to. But all of the imagery is so terrifying. It kind of reminds me of the ghosts in 13 Ghosts. It's like you see one and you're like, that's terrifying. And then you see another one. Well, that one's even more terrifying. And then you see another, you're like, oh my God, where did the terrifyingness end? Even though that movie's nowhere near as horrifying as this. But like I said, it just sticks with you. It attaches itself internally. And like I said, it just stays with you because that, I mean, for years, that lust scene, that whole scene was just like enough for me to be like, yeah, I don't want to watch this. Like, it was like, that was a great movie, great acting. I'll pass. I think that there's some interesting things. I didn't really do a lot of research, but just things that I kind of picked up on. I mean, obviously there was religious symmetry of the seven deadly sins, him playing those out in the horrific ways that he does. But you also have kind of an alpha and omega feel between William Somerset, Morgan Freeman's character, and David Mills, Brad Pitt. He's on his way out. Brad Pitt is transitioned there, and this is his first case. This is Morgan Freeman's last case. So it's like beginning and end. You have good versus evil. Brad Pitt is trying to bring good into the world, and John Doe is trying to bring good into the world in an evil way. So you have someone who thinks they're good and somebody who is good trying to do good. And I thought it was interesting if you take the perspective that Kevin Spacey is the evil in the film, or the world is the evil that he's trying to cleanse. So he's not necessarily the evil. He perceives the city is poisoned. It's evil, and this is his way of cleansing it. And he talks about that, but by the end of it, he destroys something good. He destroys Brad Pitt's wife. He kills her, an innocent person, which seems against what he's trying to do. And in doing so, making Brad Pitt's character wrath, he destroys Brad Pitt. Like, you see him being taken away in the car at the end, and Morgan Freeman's character saying, get him whatever he needs. Like, that's a broken man. Like, you've taken somebody who is there to try to make the city better, to try to do good for the people of the city, and you've broken him. So that kind of shows the evilness of his deeds, that even though he thinks he's doing good, he's taking good out of the world in the same time. I just thought
all religions pick and
thing.
choose what they want to believe anyways, right? Like, religion is notorious for picking and choosing what they want to believe from the Bible.
We're not getting political right now. Shut your whole face. Shut the entirety of your face. Shut all of it. Not in 2025, sir. No, sir. But I mean, okay, so random thing, and then I'll turn it over to Jay so you can destroy us in the comments. But so in the original, and this is going to be my little historical aside, in the original, they were going to show inside the box. So they made a replica of Gwyneth Paltrow's head. And
I believe they show it in some of the behind the scenes stuff on one of the documentaries on the DVD or something I saw years ago.
Yeah, they might. But they did make the head. They were going to put it in the box. They were going to show it. And one thing Brad Pitt said that they didn't need to show it. That was like one of his stipulations in the movie, is he didn't want them to show the head. The other is that, they decided not to show because the thought was better than the visual. The suspense of, him finding out, as opposed to us as the viewer seeing it and knowing it's in there. But in 2011, Gwyneth Paltrow dies in another movie, and they remove her head to do testing in 2011's Contagion. And the rumor is that they used that same head that they had from Seven and just used it in that movie. Now, nothing's confirmed. They never confirmed it, but who distributed the movie Seven? New Line Cinema. Who distributed the movie Contagion? Warner Brothers. Who owns New Line Cinema? That's right, Warner Brothers. So it's very plausible that if you ever want to see the head that was in the box, you could watch 2011's Contagion. So other than that, this is just a fantastic movie. It's not a movie that, brings the warm and fuzzies by any mean, but it is an excellently done film.
It's not a book, right? It feels like it's based on a book.
No, I don't
Just
Maybe
think
because
so.
Morgan Freeman's in it, and he was in Along Came a Spider and Kissed the Girls as Alex
It's
Cross, which is a
possible,
book
and
series.
and Brad Pitt was in Fight Club, which was, but also Morgan Freeman's been the same age our entire lives. You know that, right? Like he's been the same age.
I just had a revelation though, and I want to throw it out to everybody and see if I'm just crazy or not.
Well, you
But-
are, but
Well, yes, but also, can you see this?
Lethal Weapon.
Look at the thing that's behind Kellen, the cover art.
This
Oh,
this
yeah.
thing right
Oh
here.
wow, it is, isn't it?
I think that was an intentional because look at in '95 there was 3 huge blockbuster Lethal Weapon things, and it's the older black cop guy who's on his way out. It's the younger hot white cop guy. It's even the same framing on the
I think
poster.
you could look at it as, and you can go down the Google box rabbit hole on this. Like there's different errors where they mimic posters, like movies
Yeah,
mimic the
that's true.
style of each
That's
poster.
true.
Like, and you can look at the Marvel movies and then other action movies around the same time, and it's that blue and red hues with all of the characters kind of standing behind each. Yeah,
But
So
what if
maybe-
this is David Fincher's weird version of like a buddy cop movie?
Well, I mean, there is the similarity. I mean, he's definitely too old for this shit in this movie.
Right,
so,
right.
I mean,
All
Yeah.
right, sorry.
Yeah, I
Just
mean
had
that makes
revelation.
sense. You know, well, I was just saying it feels like a book, and like Kellen, you mentioned Silence of the Lambs. These two go hand in hand with me for some reason in my mind. I don't think I watched them around the same time, but they're both just dark and stick with you. Brutal, I think we've said a few times. That's definitely the word to go with it. John will never watch it again. To me, it's and I said this earlier. Like, What's Eating Gilbert Grape? What's Eating Gilbert Grape with Johnny Depp, Leonardo DiCaprio is one of the best movies I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm pretty sure it's also what led me to a life of depression. That movie is one of the saddest movies I've ever seen in my life. Beautiful, but it's just brutal in its own way. I struggled because whenever it was on TV all the time growing up, and I would always watch it. I'm like, fuck, what is wrong with me? Like, why am I continuing to watch this? So years ago, like probably 15 years ago, I bought it on DVD and just to have it on my shelf to show that I have control. I'm like, I'm never going to open you. Like, you're going to be on my shelf because I love you. You're amazing, but I'm not going to let you hurt me again. Right. Fast forward a little bit. My mom wants to borrow it. So I had to sell it because if it's on my shelf, I'm eventually going to go back and revisit it. This movie is very similar to the way it makes you feel. It's one of those things where, like, I don't think any of us have watched it in 10 or 15 years. And you kind of forget how brutal it was because it's David Fincher. David Fincher now, I would say he's a household name. Everybody's seen his movies. So you go back and look at this, you're like, oh shit, like this is kind of where he started. One of my big, and this is a question for everybody, if anybody knows the true answer. When they go to the fields that are behind me, there's a dead dog. Was that Brad Pitt's dog? Because when Morgan Freeman comes over for dinner, Brad goes to another room. There's 2 dogs and he's on the ground with them. So when they go out here in this field, they're like, "What? You see anything?" He's like, "Dead dog." And
But Kevin Spacey
says,
said
"I
he didn't do it.
Yeah, but it looked very similar, and it's just such a weird coincidence because he.
Well,
did
why
go
would
to
they
the
even
house.
mention it?
Why would they?
Right.
yeah,
I
it's
read
weird,
that
right?
I read that was an alternative ending.
Okay.
That the normal ending was maybe going to be too dark, and that they were going to be able to rescue Gwyneth, and they were going to find the dead dog's head in the box.
Oh,
That's
so
just
fuck
something I
them.
read. I know I honestly would have been more upset about the
Oh,
dog
absolutely.
ending.
I would have boycotted whoever wrote that and approved it. Like, you're dead to me. Like, and that's that's kind of sad that we feel that way, but it's just the way it is. And it's because we become so used to death in human form. And me, I lost Zoe over 2 years ago. Like, I still struggle with that. So I was just curious about that. Like, it was just such a weird coincidence. Oh, I went to your house, I killed your wife, her head's in that box over there. That's not your dog, though. Why would that be your dog? And if it is, then where's the other dog? But if you look down the road, you see a couple other little lumps. So I don't know. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Kevin Spacey was perfect. Everybody was perfect in this movie, right? Even their lieutenant. I can never think of his name.
Oh, Arlie Ermy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
And
they're-
John C. McGinley in the chopper.
Yep. Like
Yeah.
everybody's it's just so well done. It's like my other thing was what? It's in New York.
We don't know.
We don't know where it's at.
technically filmed in L.A. and they just had a rain
Yeah.
truss doing all
Because
the rain.
all of it feels like New York except the scene that's behind me, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It rained a lot. Why did Brad Pitt never have an umbrella? Why did no one give my boy an umbrella? He's literally soaked the entire
Because
first half.
hotness is better wet.
Like he just looks good soggy. I don't know. I absolutely love this movie. I would love to see, since it's already been mentioned a couple times, David Fincher take a run at a Saw movie. Like I would watch that. Like,
Right.
Other than that, I love, like I said already, I love that era of Brad Pitt. Like that's when he was at his best. Morgan Freeman too, but Morgan Freeman's gotten older, so he's doing movies about going to Vegas and bucket lists and things like that. So his career's changed a little bit. But I'm glad, Jules, I'm glad you brought this up this to us because I think it just celebrated an anniversary as well.
30
because
years.
they
Yep.
30 yeah, so they put it on Steelbook. I'm like, man, I want that Steelbook. But again, like John, I'm not in a hurry to watch it again, right? I think it's pretty perfect. I think it's an amazing film all the way around. But it's right there with What's Eating Gilbert Grape. Like What's Eating Gilbert Grape, I give a high rating to. This I give a high rating to, but I'm not gonna be like, hey guys, come over this weekend. We're gonna watch Seven. Pop some popcorn, put it in a cardboard box. I make it more fun. I'm also glad they didn't show her head. It did make it a little bit more impactful, I thought. And like the alternate ending where they go and save her, I'm also glad they didn't do that because that would have ruined the movie, I think.
Yeah,
If they're like, oh, I got to go. And then he just takes off and goes and save her. That wouldn't have felt right.
Well, and two, I think if they save her and he kills Kevin Spacey, then it defeats all of that. Like then he's just basically thrown his life away. Like he had nothing to live for at that moment. So it makes sense that he would eventually break down and shoot Kevin Spacey, knowing that his wife and child had been murdered.
Yeah. I won't go back into my rant about picking and choosing what you believe in the Bible or your personal book of religion, but we'll close up shop, go around, give our rankings. Jules, we do it on a 5 scale, so we'll go around with everybody in the order that we discussed and give our rankings, and then close up shop. So let's start with Tej.
I believe when we did Silence of the Lambs, I gave it a 4.5, and like some of y'all have mentioned, I equate these films as being equally good masterpieces at what they do, and the same kind of thriller, horror-esque, just kind of that rarefied air. So I'm gonna give it a 4.5.
Nice. Jules.
Okay, can I share my fan theory really
Oh,
quick
yeah.
before
You
I
had a
give my
theory.
rating? Okay, this is really crazy. And John kind of touched on it for a tiny second, but this is a really popular fan theory, and it came out before 1922. So, but let me explain it. There's a lot of people that really believe, and obviously it's silly, but it's kind of fun to think about, that this is a pre-Batman Gotham City story.
I can see
And
that.
some people go even further to say that David Mills is a Joker origin story. That this
Oh.
was like his defining moment that broke him, and I don't know. It's really, I'm obsessed with Batman, so I like could not stop reading about this morning. Like you can't see, but our studio is like decorated in Batman stuff. We love Batman, so that was like really fun to think about. But
And
yeah,
it tracks. It tracks because like I said, is it New York? We don't know. We don't know what city.
yep.
It could 100% be Gotham.
And I'm pretty sure Matt Reeves did say that this movie was a huge influence on the new Batman. So, anyways, that's fun. Yeah, I guess I'll give it a 4.5 too. I don't even know what I would consider a 5-star movie, but this
We don't
is
give them out very often. I think Halloween, maybe.
Batman theory would also make sense too because of the whole storyline, the Killing Joke, because the whole premise of that is all it takes is one bad day for somebody to be just like the Joker. So if anybody had a worse day than Brad Pitt,
Right.
hey, it's fun to think about, you know?
John.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. The Gotham City. I mean, there's definitely that grittiness is there, and I mean, It is kind of interesting to look back and imagine because it feels like it could be like The Long Halloween or The Killing Joke. There's something very grim there. I was just reading something was just really weird. I know he made a Zodiac movie, which I'm a big fan of, but originally he wanted Ned Beatty to play John Doe, which is the weirdest thing because apparently he thought Ned Beatty looked like the composite of the Zodiac Killer.
A little bit, yeah.
And the other guy that he wanted to play was Michael Stipe from REM. He wanted him to play John Doe. So that would have been so. You imagine that? It's so odd.
But
They got
one's
close
losing
with
their
Kevin
religion.
Spacey's look.
Wait, didn't he direct some of their music videos?
I think he did. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he directed "Losing My Religion," if I'm not mistaken.
Oh.
I don't
Fitting.
know.
Yeah, but overall, I mean, it's almost perfect. You know, there's two movies I probably won't ever watch again. This and My Girl. I love My Girl, but I cannot. I just
What a
cannot.
great double feature. What a
I can't-
great double feature.
I can't relive the bees. I can't do it.
Not the
Right,
bees.
right before you drink the Flavor Aid.
He can't see without his glasses.
So this is definitely I think 4.5 out of 5. It's close to perfect. So.
This is trending in a certain direction. Let's see where it goes next, Kellen.
Okay, so I can't say anything more than what's already been said. This is a close to perfect, if not perfect, film. I mean, the acting's great, the stylization of the movie, the imagery, the writing, directing, everything's amazing. And I think the only reason I'm not going to give it a 5, because I do think it's perfect. I think you could nitpick any movie, but I think for a 2 hour and 10-minute movie, it does not feel like you're there for 2 hours and 10 minutes. It also feels like you're there forever because of how grim this movie is. But the one thing that kills it is that rewatchability. Whereas I could watch The Silence of the Lambs every year and be content. If I don't watch this movie for another 25 years, I'll be okay with that. So just for that, I'm gonna fall right in line with everyone else and give this a 4.5.
Nice. I don't want to be like everybody else, but the fact is, it's a 4.5 movie. It really is, and it doesn't have that rewatchability, but it does have that shareability, right? Like, I'm like, have you seen Seven? No, you haven't fucking seen Seven. Like, you've seen references to it your entire life. You have to see Seven at least.
Yeah, that's one of the most iconic endings of all of cinema, not just horror, all of cinema. Everybody, even if you've never seen this movie, knows the "what's in the box" line.
Does Brad Pitt really have facial blindness? I saw an article.
I've
this
heard
week,
that.
and
I've
he's
heard
saying
him
people
say
don't
that.
believe him. I'm like, I wouldn't believe you either, honestly. But like, he doesn't know any faces. That's interesting if that's the case. But
Who's the guy in front of me? Who's in front of me?
So would have he have even recognized if he saw her in the box?
right, so that's why he was asking. That's why he kept asking. No one would answer it for him. He's like, I can't see your face. Who is it? So, all right. That's it for this episode. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, to wherever you listen to this podcast. Follow us on Instagram. Join our group on Facebook. We have a TikTok page. We also have an Amazon playlist, which I was listening yesterday morning at work, and it's fantastic. It features bands and artists and scores from movies and guests that we've talked about and talked to. It's solid. It's like 18 hours. We'll put some Blake Moore's Sea of Satellites on there for this episode, and some of the Seven soundtracks. So, Jules, thank you so much for joining us and picking a movie that we've all been looking forward to seeing, and I look forward to see it again in a couple months.
Thanks, guys. This has been a blast.
Couple decades.
All right, signing off. I'm Jay with Jules, John, Kellen, and TJ. And until next time,
Keep it spooky.
In the box.
what's in the box?
Oh God.
So, some of his what's in the boxes were a little, I don't know, it was a little short.
Yeah.
It modulated up and down. a
But
little.
really, you know, if you were in that situation, you'd probably be the same thing. And if I was in that situation like TJ started with talking about earlier, I would have shot John Doe in the fucking face.
Yeah, same.
This
I would have unloaded
Wikipedia
it like he did.
I would
This
say one thing that might be controversial, but that's the only weakness in Brad Pitt's acting is extreme emotion. Like he's a great actor in Brad Pitt roles, and I think you know what I'm talking about when I say that. Like he's great in Snatch, playing the pikey.
Oh, yeah.
He's great in
You can't understand the word he says.
Yeah, he's great in Curious Case of Benjamin Button. It just where it's more not monotone, but more
one of my favorite films of all time that people sleep on is in this 90s era. Brad Pitt is Meet Joe Black with him and Anthony Hopkins.
Good movie.
Again, that's
Great
a very
film.
muted role. He's not all over the place emotionally. That's the only he has range, but he has range in a box.
Right.
Wait a minute. In a box. John just went mute on us, but we'll do a movie bucket pick before we sign off.
Hold
Jules,
on one sec. Yeah.
We'll wait. We'll have a bucket.
Jules,
dude.
thanks for
We all
coming
put,
on. We appreciate you, and you're more than welcome to come back anytime.
Oh, thanks, guys. That was fun. Woo.
We'll have to wait for John to come back. Anyway, we have a bucket. We all put movies in. I think it was
We sat around a
10 or 20,
campfire and wrote them down, and then
sang songs.
Ate
Yeah.
s'mores.
S'mores.
Jason showed up. It was fun.
So you can
s'more what?
Jason
S'more
from,
love.
Hell of a Summer. When he comes back, would you, Jules, if you want to hang with us, you're more than welcome.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I'm just finishing my martini here.
Nice.
There you go.
I got some root beer.
Took a
Is that WWE?
Yes, those are so good. I
They're
took
so good.
actual Delta 8 before, but yeah, I love that kratom or kratom, however you say it. Those soft gels are fucking great, and you don't get the munchies, and it's amazing.
My computer restarted. I don't know what happened. That was weird.
I bet it was Duke.
Probably. Yeah, he's sitting right here. Yeah.
I know my cats are swarming me. So we'll do a movie pick. We have Sinister already, and then we pick Toxic Avenger, but Toxic Avenger we're going to wait and do when the new one comes out.
Nice.
So
It's fun.
let's see what we got next. Seven. No, another one I've been kind of wanting to go back and rewatch, Bone Tomahawk.
Oh, that's a good
That's
one.
awesome.
Did we
That's a
not
great
already
one.
talk about that one?
I finally just saw it this past year for the first time.
Great movie.
Yeah.
Such a good movie.
John's
good.
father.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I
Russell,
will
yeah.
say it's 100% unfair that John's favorite actor is Kurt Russell, who everyone loves and adores, and my favorite actor is a pedophile that I'm not allowed to like anymore. So,
Oh, is he your favorite actor?
Spacey.
Yeah, I told you
Kevin
earlier. I said that's
Spacey?
a sore
Oh, shit.
subject. Yeah, he loves.
Sorry, I
until
didn't realize
2019,
that.
Kevin Spacey was my
I mean,
favorite
he was
actor.
in
Like, he-
so many good films for like a solid decade there.
You know
And
what? A sleeper of his film, like your Brad Pitt one, is Pay It Forward. I
Pay It
love
Forward is
that
great. I love K-Pax.
K-Pax is an
That's a
underrated
good one.
movie.
It is, however, a total almost shot-for-shot ripoff of a Hispanic film called Man Facing Southwest. And totally uncredited. There's a lawsuit over it. This whole
What
thing.
a great name. What a great name.
Dude, I don't know why K-Pax
The
always
sequel,
reminds me of it
Southeast.
because it's not the same premise at all. But did y'all ever watch Robin Williams' Bicentennial Man?
Yes,
I've never
I love
s-
that movie.
I hadn't seen that.
As a grown man, I cried
Also,
at the end of that when he
at
talked
the
about
end-
just wanting to be human. I was like, oh my God.
It's kind of like the end of Terminator 2, where the robot becomes more human than human.
All right.
Okay, let's
Rob-
not. Let's not.
Rob has entered the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you guys watch Companion?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
just
it
watched
comes
that
out
this
in-
week.
We did an episode. It comes out in two weeks, I think.
I think
That
we
was
all. I
really
think we
fun
all
one.
rated that high,
Yeah, her little robot wave was awesome.
which
Yeah.
definitely could have been Skynet because that looked
100%.
just like the T-800 hand
It is. It's
from
Skynet.
Terminator.
It's going to kill us all.
He's had a
Um,
good year, Jack Quaid. He's been in a lot.
I every time he's on, I tell Lynn's like, I'm so glad he is getting the recognition he's getting because he's great in everything. I sent Kellen a video today of him getting petals plucked. And
He's like
just
the face of a
he's the
sunflower.
flower. It's like, love me. Like, oh, I love him. Like, no, I don't. He just keeps pulling the petals. It's hilarious. He's great. Kellen, you've not seen Bone Tomahawk. I'm
I
assuming.
have seen Bone Tomahawk.
You have?
I've seen it before TJ.
And that's saying something.
That is a brutal film.
Very
That is
brutal.
another
Yes.
non-feel good film.
Have you seen that one, Jules?
No, but I have read about it.
if you like Seven, you'll like Bone Tomahawk.
There's
Right.
there's definitely some movies, if I don't know if I can handle them, I'll read about them.
I
And then you
can't
can
think
cleanse
of
your
yeah.
palate with a Serbian film.
right.
Oh, don't
I-
watch that.
another great.
Don't even
feel-good
read
movie.
about that one. Don't even Google that. They'll put you on an FBI watch list.
I just read the description of everything that happens in that one. I will never watch that.
Why would
thing.
you even do that?
Not for me.
So the Bone Tomahawk guy, I can't think of his name. Zegler, is that the director's name?
I
Something with
guess.
a
I don't
Z, right?
know.
Anyways,
I don't know.
he doesn't miss for me. Brawl and Cell Block 99, Bone Tomahawk, Dragged Across
All his movies
Concrete,
are like 2.5 hours long.
and they're all brutal and they're all great. And Vince Vaughn's in all of them, and that turned me back onto Vince Vaughn because I was over him. Like,
That's Craig Zahler.
over. Yeah.
Craig Zahler, yeah.
So I was over Vince Vaughn until Brawl and Cell Block 99, and I'm like, oh shit! Like I can watch horror movies all day, I'm fine. And like one of the fight scenes, has anybody else seen that one?
I haven't seen it. I know
Yeah,
about it.
Oh, there's a fight scene. He like breaks a dude's elbow, like shoots out. I'm like, oh shit! Like if I can say that to a movie, like you mission accomplished.
Right.
So, all right, Jules, thanks again.
Yep. Thanks,
We'll
guys.
tag
It was
you
so
and do all
fun.
that fun stuff when we drop it. Yeah. Now we'll go watch something happy.
Yeah, come see me at Legends sometime, y'all.
When do you
Yeah.
play?
No, she's
Oh no,
bartends.
I make drinks more than music
Oh.
these days.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
I'd say
Nice.
if you're ever at Bridgestone or the Ryman, I'm right there.
So I don't know that I've ever been to Legends. I
I've
think
been to Legends.
You-
It's pretty good.
you-
Wait, does my buddy
bars I haven't been to,
oh,
like the Broadway.
brain just Tyson Haynes, does he ever play at Legends still?
Ooh, I don't recognize that name, but I'm only there like Thursday through Sundays. So.
Okay. Might be different days. I know he used to play there.
But it's
All right.
it's like one of the last true dives left, so it's pretty chill in there.
Right, right. That's been there forever.
Hell yeah! Thank you guys. It was so fun.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Have
Tell
a good
Michael
night.
bye.
Yeah. I will.
Later, fellers.
Bye.